Ungasali Bonani, and welcome to yet another exceptional, amazing day of storytelling. Welcome to the Ungasali International Storytelling Festival. My name is Theo Chaka, the host with the most, and today's theme is the same. We are telling our stories through challenging times, which are COVID times. We still have to be mindful of the protocols and all the restrictions set by the president, social distancing, wearing our mask and everything. That is why we are coming to you live online this year. But best believe that the stories that we tell will always touch your heart, your soul, and mind. So stick around for an amazing day 4 of storytelling. Today, we have Zoe all the way from Sierra, where I know for a fact and Idris Elba was born. I know that. So stick around for that one. It's going to be an exciting one. She is not the only one that is performing live today. We also have Khotato, we have Tabisile, and we also have Musweu on the lineup. So you don't want to miss any of the storytellers that are going to be telling stories today. So with that being said, let us kick off day number 4 of storytelling.
Long time ago, long time ago. A long time ago, there were lots of animals. A long time ago, there were big giants. Long time ago, there were Draculas. Long time ago, long time ago. Where's Sugasugela? Hey, they say, long time ago, in a certain village, hey, there was a famous king. His name was King Memeza. Because everybody always made noise to call the king, hey, my king. So a lot of people called him King Memeza. But you see, King Memeza, had 7 great sons. But you see, the 7th one was the youngest. And his name was Agakhulumi, because he couldn't speak. He was dumb. And you see, the other boys, the other children of the king, they were strong. They would always go to the war and lead the war, and they would come victorious every time. But then, suddenly, this day, they went to the war, and they never came back. They all perished at the war, except Agakhulumi. So the king was always sad from hearing the news that all his sons were killed in the war. So the king never knew how to smile ever since from that day. Then one day, his lieutenant or the regiment, Ubaba Felelwa, who was one of the king's advisors, went to the kraal to go and check out the kettles. And when you got there, there were 7 beautiful birds who had actually roasted on top of the fence at the kraal, and they were singing, Chim Chedi, Chim Chedi, you, Chim Chedi, Chim Chedi, you, Chim Chedi, Chim Chedi, you. Hey, Ubaba Felelo was so surprised, and he said, wow, there's something strange about these birds. I really need to go and tell my king. He never wasted time. He went back to the village and he told the king about everything that happened. The king was so impressed, and he said, I want to go and see those birds myself. The following day, early in the morning, they went back to the kraal, and as they sit there waiting for the birds. Indeed, the birds came flying. And the birds roasted on the fence. The king was so happy, and he said, wow, these birds remind me of my sons. Wow, I need to catch them all. And just when they tried to catch the birds flew high up in the sky. And they went. And the king, from that day on, he called all the young men of the village, and he said, I want 6 bravest young men. And the stick fighting competition was held. And 6 strong, handsome, great sons were chosen. And then the king said, weave the basket so that you can be able to put the birds inside. they never wasted any time. They started weaving their cages, little cages, and then all of them they finished. And Agakhulumi was also part of these 6 guys. So all of them, there were 7. So after that, the king gave Agakhulumi a Nobkiri, and that Nobkiri had magical powers. And he said, this will protect you and everyone. So go. And as they set to go and hunt for the birds, the people in the village came. Oh, they hugged them. Oh, they sang for them. Oh, bantwana bethu nihambe kahle. Oh, nihambe kahle bantwana bethu. Oh, it's really wonderful. And all the boys left, and they hunted for days looking for the birds. On the 5th day, they saw the birds roosted on the trees, and they tried to catch the birds, but the birds flew high. Hey, the boys ran after the birds, but they couldn't find them. And it was days that they've been running after the birds. And on this day, the birds were tired of flying. But there were no trees also. They were just small rocks. So the birds roosted on top of those rocks. And one by one, the boys caught the birds. Come, 1, come, 2, come, 3. Hey, and Askhulume was the last one to catch the bird, so he caught his bird. And as he caught it, he took the bird and put it next to his heart, and he said, at last, I got you. And the boy said, is he talking? And they said, Agakhulumi, please, can you say the words you just said now? And he repeated and said, at last, I got you. Oh, the boys were so excited. They started jumping all around. Oh, we are Kuluma. Oh, he is finally speaking. Oh, they were so happy. Oh, each one of them had a bed inside their cages. And now they had to journey back home. As they were going, it was now becoming during the night. And they needed a place to sleep. So Agakhulumi identified a cave. And he said, tonight we're going to sleep in this cave. They went inside the cave, and quickly they gathered some firewood. They made fire, and they got some rats and all that, and they cooked to eat, and then they feasted. It was a nice feast, and they slept. Oh, it was warm inside the cave. But hey, this cave belonged to the cannibals. Oh, Agakhulumi didn't know what to do, but they were sleeping nicely. And during the night, one cannibal came with one eye, one leg, and hopping. And when he gets into the cave, it looked at the boys and said, wow, this is really wonderful meat, great meat, and it's tender. Yes, I'm going to start with that one with small legs and pointing it at Agakhulumi, and I will end up with that one with the long legs. But I can't finish all this feast. I need to invite my brothers so we can come and all feast. And the cannibal went out. But at that time, whilst the cannibal was talking, Agakhulumi was listening. And as the cannibal had left, Agakhulumi woke all the boys. Fugani, wake up, Fugani. And they all wake up, and he said, hey, we are inside the cave, the cave of the cannibals, so we really need to run away. Boys never waited any time. They took their belongings, the beds and their nobkiris, and they started running away. They ran so fast that when they stopped to catch their breath, they were far away from the cave. Oh, they stopped, and everyone had his own bed. It was only Agakhulumi, when he checked on his hand, that he had forgotten his bed inside the cave. And he said, I have to go back and get my bed. And the other boys said, no, Agakhulumi, you can't go back. You know, the cannibals are going to eat you. Please take mine. It's better I go back without the bed. And Agakhulumi said, remember what the king said. He said, no one must come back home here to face the king without the bed. And all of them, they didn't know what to do. Agakhulumi took his nobkiri. He said, you must wash this nobkiri. He planted it on the ground. And then he said, if this nobkiri trembles, you must know that I'm still alive. But if it falls down, then you must know that I'm dead. And then he said, going back, running to the cave. When he got to the cave, he found the cannibals, 3 of them, talking. So where are these boys? You said there are boys here. There's meat. Where's that meat? Eh? Where's that meat? They were actually arguing. And Asikhulumi went inside slowly, walking very slowly and very light. And he saw his bed. And he got his bed. And he put it next to his heart again. And he said, I'm here for you. At that time, the cannibals were not, their vision was not very clear, but they were good smellers. They could smell anything. And indeed, one of them said, Sento Sankakai. And the other said, Hasina Sankakai. Sento Sankakai. And the other one, Hasina Sankakai. He said, there's a boy here, I can feel it. There's a boy I can smell. At that time, Asikhulumi was going very slowly, going towards the open of the cave. And he went out, he ran so fast, and the cannibals saw him. Hey, they just came, man. They come running after him. But you see, on the way, when the Asikhulumi went inside the cave, there was a granny who was outside there. And he gave Asikhulumi three little stones. And he said, these stones will help you. Every time, if the cannibals want to catch you, throw one stone, something will happen. Indeed, Asikhulumi had all these stones in his small pocket. And he was running so fast. But now, the giants were at the back. The cannibals were at the back, hopping. And they were coming fast, and Asikhulumi could feel them. He could just even feel their breath just behind him. So he took out one stone and he threw it at the back, and a huge mountain just formed itself. Asikhulumi ran so fast. Then the cannibals were trying to climb on top of that mountain. They climbed and they went down. Oh, they were coming faster. Asikhulumi could feel them. Wow! He didn't know what to do. He remembered again that I still have got two stones left. He took one, he threw it at the back, and a certain animal formed itself, a dead animal, and the cannibals stopped. They started feasting at the animal. Oh, they started feasting. Oh, at that time, Asikhulumi was gaining ground. He was gaining ground, running so fast that no one could catch him. Oh, the cannibals, when they finished eating, they started setting again. They said, he's still there. Let's go. They ran again. And they were very close to Asikhulumi. Asikhulumi could feel that anytime the cannibals are going to just catch him. So he thought very fast, what can I do? He remembered that he still can have one last rock that is gone. So he took it, he threw it down, and a big river formed itself. The giant fell inside the river, and they all died because they couldn't swim. They drowned into the river. Asikhulumi was gaining ground, and the boys were watching the stick, and the stick was trembling, and they could feel that, Asikhulumi, is going to die. They didn't know what to do. And at that time, when they watched the mountains, they saw a lot of dust coming out. They said, he is coming. He is coming. And at the time, the stick, the lopkiri, was really tilting left and right, going very fast as Asikhulumi was running. And they started screaming as they saw him, Asikhulumi, come, we're waiting for you. And Asikhulumi said, let's run. They are just behind me. And indeed, they ran so fast that they ran throughout the night.
Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, sat next to her husband, Lord Vishnu, the Lord of the universe. He looked at her. In his eyes, she looked perfect. Large red bindi on her forehead, big eyes, perfect nose, full lips, long neck, her ears adorned with earrings. So was her neck, and her hands with bangles and ankles with anklets. As she spoke, her eyes shone. Perfect woman, picture perfect, he thought. He heard her words. She went on to tell him how people on earth had looked after her, and how, being the goddess of wealth and prosperity, she had given them what they wanted. After all, She was the goddess who could give all this to them. Lord Vishnu thought for a moment, didn't she miss me? And then he thought, has she become proud and arrogant? He looked right at her, into her eyes, and said, Lakshmi, you may have many qualities, but you are not a perfect woman. You are not complete, for you have not known joys of motherhood. You have never borne or brought up a child. Lakshmi's excited face turned ashen. Her happiness vanished. Dumbstruck, she sat. Why did he say that? Such cruel words. They pierced right into her heart and hit where it hurts most. After that, she didn't know whether he sat there or walked away. She just froze. And then after a while, she wondered, in anguish, what shall I do? Who shall I go to? The face of her friend Parvati immediately flashed in front of her eyes. So she somehow dragged herself up and slowly walked to her friend's house. Parvati welcomed her inside. One look, she knew something was drastically wrong. She made her sit down, offered her a glass of water. Lakshmi sat. Tears started rolling down her cheeks, and then she started to sob. Parvati just sat there, holding her hands. Not a word was exchanged. Suddenly, laughter of children filled the room. Lakshmi looked. There were two little boys playing. Parvati's sons. As Lakshmi's gaze fell on them, she felt transfixed. She couldn't look away. Parvati looked at her sons, then at Lakshmi, and then at her sons again. And the two goddesses sat watching the two boys play. May I adopt one of your sons? Asked Lakshmi. Well, Parvati was astounded. She didn't know what to say. She immediately understood the pain of her friend and gently said, Lakshmi, you travel so much. How will you take care of a child? Lakshmi immediately replied, I take him wherever I go. Okay, then how will you feed him? Well, wherever I go, people offer me such excellent food, delicacies. He will always be well fed. Parvati thought again and said, what if he is not welcomed? He's made to stand outside. Lakshmi thought for a second and said, then I will set a condition from today that I will enter only that house where my son is worshipped first. Parvati smiled, satisfied. She looked at the two boys, picked up Ganesha gently and said, then Ganesha is perfect for you, for he is the Lord of wisdom and intelligence, and wisdom must always go with wealth. She handed her son Ganesha to Lakshmi. Lakshmi took the little boy. She held him up. The boy laughed. He touched her cheek. She smiled back and hugged the child. And she felt perfect and complete. Well, Ganesha, even now in India, is always worshipped before Goddess Lakshmi. But despite the fact that so many years have passed, centuries or thousands and thousands of years, you are not perfect and you are not complete, are the words which still reverberate in our society, even today. My friends, let me tell you something. Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're married, in a relationship, single, divorced, about to be married, engaged, or don't ever want to get married, whether you have a child of your own, you have adopted one, you cannot have a child, you don't want to have a child, or you have a child who you really hold dear to your heart, it's okay. Everything is fine. And remember, you are perfect and you are complete, just the way you are. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you.
Home, buela sakeng, o hodile. 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 Motseng wa bahlabani ba Borwa ho ne ho na le mobu o neng o babatseha ho tloha qalong ya nako. Ho neng ho etsa hore mobu ona o babatsehe ke boteng ba sefate se neng se na le matla a tibileng. Metso ya teng e ne e fana ka lerato mme e nesetsa malapa ka kganya. Kutu ya teng e ne e tlisa hlompho mme e phenya pefo. Makala a teng a ne a phekola malwetse a sa jeng nama fela empa a jang moya wa motho le boteng ba motho. Morena wa bahlabani ba Borwa o ne a na le bara ba babedi mme o na ba rutile hlompho, lerato le kganya. Jwale ile ya haya bona batho badimo ba hae ba mo bitsa bana ba hae ba babedi ba qala ba lwanela sefate sena mme maqheku le bana ba shwa. Pefo ya bangwetsi ya setjhaba sena. Batho ba qala ba hema madi ba dutla moya, ba hema madi ba dutla moya, ba hema madi ba dutla moya, ba hema madi ba dutla moya. Ya ba holwane ba bitsa bashimane bana, ba bitsa bana ba morena, ba re ha dituleng majwana, ba dula fatshe le bona, ba buisana le bona hore ba tla iphenya jwang taba ena ya pefo. Qeto ya ba hore ba nke sefate sena ba se petsole ka bohane, ba ye nqalong tse fapaneng tsa lefatshe. Ya ba etsa jwalo, ba nka sefate sena ba se jala nqalong tse fapaneng tsa lefatshe. Matsatsi a tswala dibeke tsa tswala dilemo tsa feta. Yaba matla a difate tsena a qala a fokola. Dintwa tsa qala hape. Pefo ya bangwetsi ya ditjhaba tsena, maqheku le bana ba shwa. Batho ba qala hape ba hema madi ba dutla moya, ba hema madi ba dutla moya, ba hema madi ba dutla moya. Ntho e nngwe e kgolo e ne e etsa hore ntwa ena e kupe e ne e le potso ya hore ana haeba mosadi o tswa kgopong tsa monna a na hona ho bolelana ho no na le moshanyana ya neng a matha matsatsi ka matsatsi a tsamaya dithabeng a feta merung a sesa dinokeng a baleha a leka ho fumana dikarabo tsena o na rutile hore ha o ka nwa metsi a tswang makaleng a sefate sena o tla fumana dikarabo tsa bophelo ba hao ka le leng la matsatsi ile a hantsa a tsamaya a kopana le sefate sena mme yaba o nwa metsi a tswa makaleng a sefate sena a robala boroko mme dikarabo tsa bophelo tsa tla a utlwa lentswe le re leoto ke moloi leoto ke moloi leoto ke moloi ya ba utlwa lentswe le leng le re nkapare a bona seaparo mme a senka a se apara ka o potlaka hana apere seaparo sena se ne se mo bontsha melao le bophelo ba botona a se apara metsotsonyana fela empa a qala a utlwa a longwa a tjha mme a se hlobola seaparo sena ha qeta ho se hlobola a utlwa lentswe le re nkapare yaba wa senka seaparo sena wa se apara le sona ka ho potlaka ha se apere jwalo a fumana dikarabo ka melao le bophelo ba botshehadi empa ka mora metsotsonyana a utlwa seaparo sena le sona se mo tjhesa mme le sona a se hlobola a se beha fatshe yaba o bona katiba ya mebala e mengata a enka a utlwa moya wa hae o futhumala a e apara a fumana dikarabo tsa bophelo tsohle tseo a neng a di batla o na utlwa katiba ena e le setoto se monate ka nkgong se kopantshitseng botshehadi le botona mme o na lakatsa hore ba bang ba ka tla ba nwa setoto sena o dutse mme o bina kodi ya mmalla o re kgomo boela sakeng o hodile. Kgomo boela sakeng o hodile. Kgomo boela sakeng o hodile.
Bobo ningabwa, ai bobo ninyozi. Mukija muhoro, ai nebiona beniwe. Ai bobo ningabwa, ai bobo ho. Mukija muhoro, ai nebiona beniwe. Let's go. Ta 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 ta. Ooh, that is the rhythmic beat of the drum from Western Uganda. The people of Western Uganda are beautiful. They are cattle keepers, and that is the land where our president comes from. Have you ever heard about a story where a man set thousands of Ugandans ablaze? Sit back. Let me tell it to you. In Kanong village in western Uganda, there lived a man by the name Joseph Kibwetere. He was a teacher who later became a businessman, very wealthy, and his name became famous in western Uganda. Together with his wife Teresa, they built a beautiful home where they lived with their children. And in the 1980s, there came a woman by the name Credonia. The people of Kanungu say Credonia was a former prostitute who loved to entertain men while she sold her beer. But now Credonia came with a call. She claimed that she had had a visit from the Virgin Mary. She claimed that the heavens had told her that the earth was coming to an end in the 2000s. And she swore that there would not be any 2001. She said if the year 2001 happened to be, let the people stone her. Later, Joseph Kibwetere left his wife and children and came and joined Credonia. Well, they say maybe they had an affair. The two walked hand in hand preaching the gospel of the end times. Soon the news had spread to all the four corners of Uganda, and many people started to come and flock Kanungu village. So many, Kibwetere being a famous name, many influential people came and joined them, and they formed a movement which they called the Movement for the Restoration of the 10 Commandments of God. With thousands of believers, they looked for new homes in the neighboring villages, in the neighboring districts, and they built these homes to house the believers. But it is said that these homes were built in such a way that no outsider would be able to see what is happening in these homes, and the believers could not see what is happening in the outside world. They say that these homes were built so strategically that it was easy to tell if an outsider was coming from miles away. Well, this movement had rules for the believers. One, the believers were stopped from talking. They said that talking was a door for evil, and therefore if they needed anything, they would use sign language. They also said that no believer was to own anything. For you to join the movement, you had to sell your cattle, your houses, everything. You left everything behind to come to this movement. They also say there were no marriages in this movement. Well, when we were closing to the end of 1999 and we were coming to the beginning of 2000, their gospel was hard, solid rock. And the believers were crying out to God to have their relatives come and join them. They call themselves the repentant. The eve to the new year 2000, the believers were allowed to leave these fenced homes to go out and cry to people to come and join the ark so they can escape the wrath of God. Well, the believers convinced whoever they convinced some of their family members to come and join. Now that night, the night while many Ugandans elsewhere were in churches praying and praising God for the new year, the believers and the new people they had called in that night were set in a church ready, waiting for the takeoff to heaven. Oh, while the lights went off, while the Ugandans were screaming, ushering in the new year, the flames were also going off, and the believers were also screaming in agony. They were screaming in agony. While Ugandans elsewhere were in clubs, in bars, dancing, rejoicing for the new year, the believers were burning to ashes. Thousands and thousands burnt to ashes. The stench of their burning bodies drew a scar across the heavens. Their agonies, the cries, wrought pain across the heavens. This will always be a pain for the people of Kanungu village. But the questions remain. Did Joseph Kibwetere and Credonia burn? We will never know. But thank God that the people are moving out of this pain and life is coming back for the people of Kanungu. For those who lost their loved ones, healing is coming to their souls. Thank you for listening to me.
Uyise likaNdoni wabhubha iminyaka edlulile abulala ikankere. Kusukela ngalelo langa, ubuphilo bakaNdroni batshintsha. Unina likaNdroni bekavusa uNdroni ngovivi ekuseni bonyana akuhamba ayokukha amanzi abuye athanyele ngendlini phambi kwabanana aye esikolweni. Ngelinye ilanga wathi avuke ngovivi okumakhaza ngaphandle kumnyama kuthu. Wakhamba uNdroni athukwe. Yathi nekasakhamba wezwa izwi likamma limbiza limjamisa. Akhe ngajami. Nekasakhamba njalo umma loya wambona ngaphambili wamvalela indlela. Mrazanyanami ngiba kungikhomba indlela ye-bus stop. Wala uNdroni. Mrazanyanami ngiyakubawa ngiba kungikhomba indlela ye-bus stop uza kubuya uzokukha amanzi. Wavuma uNdroni watshiya ikrivana yakhe ngasemlanjeni. Bakhamba. Lapha athe bakhamba azwa ukuthi udiniwe. Watshela umma loya wamma sengiyajika manje akhe aphenduka. Wathi nekaqalaqalako wakereya umma loya ngasekho. Waqalaqala wabona ukuthi sekuyakhanya. Sekaphezulu le entabeni akasazi ukuthi ufike njani. Wakhumbula ukuthi uyise bekavana amtshela intori nesipuku. Walila uNdroni kakhumbula ukuthi uze ngentabeni nesipuku. Walila asalila njalo wavela ubaba akhamba ngekarani. Wambuza ukuthi kwenzakaleni. uNdroni wamchazisela. Ubaba loya wamkhweza ekaraneni bakhamba wayomshiya ngasemlanjeni. Wakha amanzi emlanjeni wakhamba. Yathi nekasendleleni abona umakhe, wabona umakhe ajame ngaphandle aphethe isambuca amjamele. Nekafikako azange bile afune nokumchazisela, afuna ukuzwa ukuthi ubuyaphi. Wamritha, walimala, wabuya wamkhelela ngendlini, wamfihlela nokudla. Akhe ngaye esikolweni ngelanga lelo. Ngelanga lelo wabona ukuthi kubanyana yini uZimu khe ngathatha umakhe achiye ubabakhe, ngoba umakhe umphethe kumbi. Ebusuku asalela uNdroni weza umuntu wamrhinya, amvala impumulo nomlomo. Wathi nekavukako wabuya wafeyinta. Nekasayokuvuka lapha wakera ukuthi usekamureni angayazi, ikamura ehle akayazi. Aqala ikamura le engayaziko, weza umuntu afuna ukumhlubula ibhurugu. Wathi uyaqala wakera kungubaba, wambakwa ukuthi baba ngiyakubakwa ungangihlubuli ibhurugu. Wahleka. After imali engaka engiyibhadela unyoko, kusukela namhlanje ngowami wena. Kwaba nezwi elincane lithi, ilwa Ndroni, ilwa. Walwa uNdroni, walwa wararha ubaba loya, wawela esipilikasini, wabuya wayokuwela phasi. Yathi nekajampa embhedeni, wathola ivasi, wathatha ivasi leya wapetha ubaba lo ihloko, ubaba naye wafa. Wagijimela ngaphandle, wafunafuna wakera indlu ikulu, wafuna, waphuma. Nekaphumako wabona ukuthi akasekho emaplasini, usedrobheni. Wagijima uNdroni, wagijima angazi ukuthi ugijimela phi. Wagijima, ethi asagijima wawela phasi, wafeyinta. Emva kwesikhatshana uvuka sesibhedlela. Wathi uyaqala wabona umma nobaba, ubaba noma vilakazi bahleli hlanu kombhedo kaNdroni. Wabaqhazisela yonke into eyenzakele. Wabuya wababakwa ukuthi bangamthathi bambuyisele kumakhe. Ubaba noma vilakazi bathembisa uNdroni ukuthi kusukela namhlanje uzahlala nabo, bamhlogomele.
And I mean, day number 4 has just been another day, right? If you feel like day number 4 was a day for you, best believe that tomorrow is going to blow your mind. Tomorrow we have about 12 storytellers. How exciting is going to be that? So you don't want to miss that. It's all happening tomorrow for day number 5, the ultimate, the closing day. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that. But thanks goes to all the storytellers that were able to tell their stories from day number 1, day number 2, day number 3, until today. I mean, it's just been a blast of storytelling from Tuesday until today. I mean, it's been a blast. If you didn't enjoy anything, I don't know what's wrong, but we need to figure out something is really wrong. So come again tomorrow. We're going to be doing it for the last time. Storytelling Festival is going to be an amazing one. Day number 5 is just going to be a blast. I wish I could tell you who's performing, but I'd rather much keep it a secret. You'll find out tomorrow. Come on, join us. Go check our social media platforms. We are found. It's very simple. Ungasali International Storytelling Festival. I am at Theo Chaka. You can also follow me and check out every link that I'm going to be posting there, because it's just going to be a blast of a time. So till we meet again tomorrow for the final and the last day of the International Storytelling. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. So tell your friends and your other friends and your family members to come and watch us live. See you tomorrow. Bye.